In early September 1989, a well-organized wave of low pressure moved off the coast of West Africa and quickly intensified into a tropical depression on September 10th. Little did anyone know how devastating this storm would become.
It formed from a wave that came off the African coast during September 1989. It's one of the classic Cape Verde hurricanes. It developed very rapidly over the tropical Atlantic, and at one point it was a Category 5 hurricane when it was out to the east of the Lesser Antilles.
I remember on the 11th of September, the storm becoming a tropical depression, and shortly thereafter it was a tropical storm, and then it headed toward Puerto Rico, and all eyes were on Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was really the first major target of the storm.
And one of our reconnaissance aircraft that flew into the storm lost an engine as it was penetrating the eye wall and spent a very nervous couple of hours circling around inside the eye before they could get out. But it was the data from that plane that told us that the storm was Category 5.
My boss came to me and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Let's wait and see what happens once it hits Puerto Rico." Because still some of the models still had it veering off more to the north and eventually northeast. So I said, let's wait and see what happens.
Hugo had weakened from a Category 5, but was still a major hurricane when it struck Puerto Rico and the nearby islands on Monday, September 18th. It caused tremendous damage in eastern Puerto Rico, along with the islands of Vieques and Culebra.
We had the benefit of this storm, hurricane, being out there a good while, and to witness the terrible damage that occurred in the Caribbean. So we had the ability to know this was a killer hurricane.
Well, that Monday, the 18th, rolled around and it went right through Puerto Rico, the northeast tip, and it didn't veer, it wasn't changing course. So then I thought, maybe we need to take this a little more seriously.
It hits Puerto Rico and we see all the devastation there, and it's still holding true to its track with Charleston right in its crosshairs. Then we started looking at some of the maps, and there was a forecast of a pretty decent sized Bermuda high and a closed low in the eastern Gulf, and so there seemed to be a corridor that we thought Hugo would travel from North Carolina down to Florida, which is still a pretty large area, but we're kind of right in the middle of that.
You look at the weather features, it was just the perfect ingredients for a strike here. Big blocking ridge to the north. There's a little upper low over the central Gulf. There was really no place for that storm to turn.
And we were just watching this monster pretty much making a beeline toward the South Carolina coast. And I remember drawing this tube with the track and then extrapolating it right into the coast.
I do remember Thursday being such a pivotal day because it crossed over the Gulf Stream and all of a sudden it just exploded.
The structure of the storm was perfect. The environment was good for strengthening. I think some folks even misjudged maybe a little bit of the effects of the Gulf Stream. So it was a rapidly intensifying storm for a little while as it crossed the Gulf Stream, because it was still a Cat 2 that morning, and by that night it was a Cat 4.
Once it became obvious that landfall somewhere along the South Carolina coast was imminent, local officials and the media began planning for the anticipated impacts.
I called my senior staff, department heads, staff members together, and told them that we should see this as an opportunity. And they looked at me a little odd. And I said, it's an opportunity because if this hurricane comes our way, then we will have the chance to serve our citizens when they need us more than they've ever needed us before.
Our location, our emergency operations center, and our day-to-day offices was in a very small cinder block building that we shared with the Charleston County Voter Registration Department. So when I went to work that morning before it hit, I knew I wasn't coming back. I told my family, my husband, my small child at the time, I'll see you when I see you.
And started doing things to signal the seriousness. One thing is we boarded up the windows in this building, which some thought was, why are they doing that so soon? But I wanted to telegraph that okay, the city's boarding up City Hall.
It was getting real hectic and busy, and we were just, phones were ringing and people were calling and asking, and we were trying to get the word out the best way we could.
We found a place to broadcast, which was at the Emergency Operations Center, which was off of Leeds Avenue. Now it's the old election warehouse. That's where the media was setting up. The national media started to really cover this.
I went to the National Weather Service office and spent the night there, and then we had crews who went to the Emergency Operations Center. We sent part of our crew to our transmitter site in Alwyndaw, which turned out to be not the best decision.
Meanwhile, officials urged people in harm's way to evacuate, and for those who were planning to ride out the storm, to complete their preparations.
The most important thing for the mayor to do is evacuate his citizens, because hurricanes kill through storm surge more than anything else. Getting your citizens to evacuate is difficult because people don't want to leave. And you have to thread the needle between panic and fear. We went door to door in some sections of the city, getting people out and telling them they had to move. We opened some shelters on our own.
We didn't want to leave, but since the police came by the third time and said we should leave, we left.
So I get in the car and come out to get on Highway 17, and it was bumper to bumper for miles, both lanes.
With my family, we just ran out to the local store, which was Walmart, and to gather water, batteries, flashlights, and some perishable items so that we can get ready for the storm. It was really busy in Georgetown. It seemed like the cars was just, going back and forth. Everybody was in a big rush.
People are driving crazy. They're driving on the shoulder of the road. Everybody's got trailers. Everybody's packing up stuff. Gas stations are running out of gas. And all of a sudden, it's like mayhem.